I would like to talk about what I think is perhaps one of the biggest problems that we face as a society without even realising it. So as the majority of our communication moves online, the problem is that people cannot infer, or people can't discern, I should say, tone. People can infer tone, and they do that all the time, and I would say a lot of the time they actually infer it incorrectly, but that's a different matter. You can't take, or you can't gauge what somebody's tone is when you're speaking to them and it's just text that you have to go on. So back in 2022 I had an exam, and in the essay for this particular module I got 96%, and in the exam I got 32%. Now that's quite a big kind of like discrepancy in terms of scores there. And so I was like, no, he's got this wrong. My lecturer, he's 100 years old and he's got it wrong. He wasn't 100, he was more like 150. But it's clearly known that he's over the hill. Dr. David Price. Anyway, so I sent him an email and I said, you've marked this wrong, take another look at it. Because after all, what could I know? He sent me an email back saying, don't like your tone. Like, you don't know what tone I said it in. You're imagining the tone that I've carried myself with in what you're reading. You've placed that in there, and it wasn't in there before. And this, you generally tend to find this with intelligent people, is that they don't necessarily know. If they don't know a component of something, they'll normally fill in the blanks themselves, and they're not normally wrong on these things. But he didn't know whether I said it as in, you've marked it wrong, take another look at it, or you've marked that wrong, take another look at it. You don't know what tone I've said that in. And this is like incongruous across the internet, is that whenever somebody writes something or whenever you read something, you cannot draw the tone of it from what has been written, because it is merely text. You cannot draw tone out of that. It baffles me that we've overlooked this. So many things get missing from the switch to digital. So tone, body language, it's just even the vibe of actually just being around somebody. And all of these things, when you physically communicate with somebody in person, all of these things are there. So you don't have these as problems. This is why I decided to switch from talking to people online to just basically getting rid of the idea of chatting on social media, and to actually meeting up with people in person, because then you know exactly what tone they're saying it in, because you're listening to them. And this, I think, is one of the biggest issues that we well, I say that we should deal with, but that we actually don't. God, my arm is absolutely killing me. Give me a second. Oh. Yeah, and so that's kind of like, that is like a big part of the issue, is that when we say that we're going to, that we want people to unify, that we want people to come together, you actually need to be in people's presence, because then you actually need to know not just what they're saying, but the tone in which they're saying it. Words on a screen are not good enough. The internet is not a replacement for actual communication. And when you realise that when you're not in somebody's presence, you don't know what body language that they're using, you don't know what tone that they're taking with you, it's easy to take things the wrong way. We shouldn't be doing that. We should be focusing on each other and actually spending time with each other. There's an American comedian I listen to a lot of. His name's Bill Maher, and he has and what he always does is he's really kind of like, he's very left wing and liberal like me, but what he always does is he went round to the White House for dinner, and Donald Trump has like slagged him off constantly. He basically took a list of insults that Donald Trump has given him, and he took it round and got the president to sign it. Brilliant. And he has, he often has people who they describe as right-wing fanatics and stuff like that. And he says, everybody's a monster until you actually meet them. And that's the thing. People are monsters because if all you've got to go off are letters that are written on a screen, and you don't actually know what that person is thinking, or what they would say if they were in person. If you don't know that, go and meet them in person. That lack of tone, that lack of knowing how somebody is saying something, is so critical to communicating. And there was this. I remember when I worked in call centres, they said make sure when you talk with a smile on your face, because even though the person on the other end of the phone can't hear it, body language I think accounts for 6% of communication during a phone call, weirdly enough. And they always used to give you that statistic, is that verbal communication only satisfies a very small amount of how we communicate things to each other. And so, given that that's the case, when you strip all of the other components of it out of it, you find that you're not going to be able to communicate very effectively, and that is where I think that we are as a society, and that I happen to think is a big problem.